Hello folks, this is Rekatan and you're watching RekStarcraft. This is going to be a Zerg versus Terran between the 2000 Diamond Zerg player Lisk and the 1800 Diamond Zerg Terran player Vengeance. He wishes he played Zerg. And I believe this is a ladder match, so this should be a pretty good game. No questions from Lisk, so let's go ahead and just get this rolling. If I sound like I'm super sad, it's because I just had a terrible game, so I decided to cast one of these. If you watched, spoiler alert, if you watched my last live cast, you saw it. Ugh, losing to 6-skate. It hasn't happened to me in years. Okay, not years, probably like a month. But still, it makes me sad to lose to the basics. So, not too much to analyze, and we are looking over in nothing. Alright. I'm going to leave it on player camera for a bit since there's not too much to look at anyways, although if he stays over here I might change that. There we go. I wanted to take a quick second for some shameless self-promotion because I love whoring myself out to the internets. I offer coaching for anyone who's interested if you're having any trouble with your Zerg gameplay, or I also do help with Protoss and Terran, but obviously my focus is Zerg. Anyways, if you're looking for any help, I do offer coaching. It's how I pay my bills, so I can't help but whore myself out a little and advertise. So if you're interested, go to RekStarcraft.com, and there's all sorts of information there, plus a form you can fill out. Eric's over there giving me this really excited look and going to the website. Oh God, I hang out with some of the dumbest people I've ever met in my life, but that's okay, I love them. Okay. So we've got some timings going on here, so I might as well start talking about that instead of advertising. We've got a 14 hatchery going down, a little hatch before pool. I do like this against Terran. I'm switching out of 11 over pool, 18 hatchery, because I'm finding the timings are a little bit goofy. It actually has a vulnerability to early bunker rushes because the hatchery doesn't complete in time to get a spine crawler up. And that I'm finding is just crushing. Like it in and of itself, it is a sole justification to not use that versus Terran. Makes me sad because I love 11 over pool, but I am actually switching back to 14 hatch 14 pool. So, side note. And looks like it was a 14 pool as well, so this is good. Actually, no, a drone died, so that was technically a 15 pool. And nothing to talk about. A big thing that I like to watch with this early game is when do they get their gas and how do they make use of this drone. Like in that case, there was a Marine there. Okay, not much to do. And the first drone died, I believe. I'm not going to rewind to check, but I saw it in the base and then I looked back and it was gone. So I'm assuming it died. Either that or it went back to the future. Oh man, I gotta watch that movie. Freaking great movie. Except for the third one. The third one was terrible. Anyone who likes the third one does not know what they're talking about. Eric likes the third one. He apparently likes trains and cowboys and Indians. Yeah, well, yeah, it's okay, but it's not the mind-blowing experience that 1 and 2 was. It's like Godfather 3, you know? It's like Godfather 3. Godfather 1's a masterpiece. Anyways, I'm sorry. Totally sidetracked. So we've got 6 Zerglings popping and a spine crawler. This is fine. You know, I'm always an advocate of a few extra Zerglings. The spine crawler may not be 100% necessary if you're going to get 6 Zerglings. Maybe you want to make that spine crawler reactively. And given that we saw 1 barracks, Lisk could have done with 4 Zerglings and no spine crawler, and that would have not been greedy in the slightest. It's a matter of preference. I would have liked to have seen a Maynard here, aka drone transfer. But what he's doing is fine. This is just going to be a little bit slower results, but that's fine. What else is going on? Good. Quick on the queen. I'm not certain. I know I saw this spawn, but I was busy talking about something else. I don't know if that was a transferred queen or if he spawned it there. I think that was a transferred queen, though. Don't quote me on it. Yeah, it was, because this one spawned and made the creep tumor and now is injecting. Excellent. So I like seeing that. Great job making sure to get that queen transferred and getting the second one up ASAP. The extractor went down at around, what was that, 30, 32, 33? So a little bit late on the extractor, but given that he only saw 1 barracks, that's just fine. You want to extractor a little sooner if you see 2 barracks, because metabolic boost is super critical in dealing with early scoot and shoot Marines. Now, I say it a million times over, we've got to say it again. He's not going to get that early warning if there is a Marine SCV all in. And that Zergling needs to be there. And one other aspect of the scouting that is missing is, where is this? Okay, never mind. Derp, I'm blind. Okay, this is actually a good spot for an Overlord too. This one is more predictable than this one. However, this one is a little bit more snipeable with the early Marines. But it's a very, very again, an unpredictable scouting pattern. So sometimes they won't even know to look there. They'll be looking down here for the Overlord and be all confuzzled. So yeah, this is actually very good on Lisk's part. Very, very good scouting pattern, and he is the only downside is he's not going to necessarily see as much hidden tech. I mean, if they hide back here sometimes, but a lot of times you're going to see the tech right in the middle to where they feel comfortable killing it down here, and they feel comfortable killing it up here. And I found down here is a little bit quicker if they have good response time, because this extractor or this refinery will see it. But actually, he is getting great intel. So this is working out very, very well. Here comes the Hellions, and again, one Zergling there would have given early warning. This Zergling should be up at the natural. Or up at the choke for the main, I apologize. And might as well turn on income, see how we're doing here. Alright, these Hellions are actually being a little more passive than they could be. One Spine Crawler is... Okay, there we go. Okay, so it's a push. Okay. And we have Blue Flame. That is scary. Oh, my sound is too loud. Uno, momento. I don't know if it's too loud for you guys, but it's too loud for me. And I'm all who matters. Okay. Ready, set, go. No, I don't think I'm the only person in the world that matters. Someone's going to take me seriously. Okay, so really, from a micro standpoint, there isn't a lot he could have done. This was a case of just being ill-prepared. But, you know, from a micro standpoint, Lisk actually handled it pretty well. Except for these drones should have been moved out of the way. Oh, this is grim. Oh, this is grim. These Hellions are going to get in here, and good, splitting the drones. Excellent. Beforehand, you don't want to split the drones if the Hellions are already there, but in this case, this is very good, making him decide where to kill them, but attacking with those drones was kind of feeding them on a silver platter. So, Lisk is panicking a bit here. And so he made good decisions and then some bad decisions. And I'm going to actually go back to that drone splitting and tell you what was good and what was bad once these Hellions finally freaking die. Okay. Let's go back a second. B. Come on. A little bit further back. Okay, so we have, slowing down to normal, drone splitting. He could have even split a little more, you know, get one here, one there, just spread them all over the place. But then, wait a minute, what's this? Okay, so we split the drones. This is cool, this is good. But now, wait, what? We're attacking with the drones. But we already have a Roach and a Queen here to do some damage. Attacking with your drones is only worthwhile against, well, for one, versus Blue Flame Hellions, rarely, if ever. But let's assume they were Red Flame Hellions, regular, everyday, boring Hellions that still destroy everything in their path that isn't a Roach. Anyways, if they were regular Hellions, then, okay, there's some circumstances the drones would want to fight. For example, if they got in the mineral line right here, and they got a little too frisky, you know, weren't quite being microed, you just immediately do a surround like an SCV that got in your mineral line, and you can actually kill the Hellions before they have a chance to kill more than a couple drones. That is a good opportunity to attack with the drones. Another is, let's say the Hellions, this is good building placement on Lisk's part, so let's say the Hellions are coming down there like, meow, and then they come down here. And they're sitting right behind this, and all you got to do is take some drones down here. I'm gonna go. I wish I could go John Madden on this, just do some arrows and whatnot, but oh well. Drones down here, drones down here. Get a nice little surround, and you're going to actually DPS those Hellions down pretty quickly. It's not going to be as well as if you caught them here, because they do have like a little kind of, I guess it's called a Charlie Foxtrot, which is technically a bad formation because it's vulnerable to a grenade. But anyways, that's a whole different tangent. But it is very defensible. You know, they're going to die, but they're going to do quite a bit of damage before they die. Still, it's better than what's going on here, which is the drones chasing the Hellions. They have plenty of room to kite, and in fact, they can even go up to this clump of drones, take a pot shot, and still turn their fire around back at the drones that are chasing them and kill them in time. So in this case, I would have liked to have seen just the drones spread out all over the main just make them fire at one drone at a time while the roach and queen, and this queen actually should be up there as well. Oh, never mind, that's almost dead. That's actually smart, keeping that queen back. While this roach and queen finish them off. But, you know, that is what happens when you're in the middle of a, you know, clutch scenario and you have a hard time keeping up with it, and I'm sure he was panicking a bit. I know I always panic when I have blue flame Hellions in my base and I wasn't prepared for them, so I can't blame Lisk for it. So I'm going 2 speed to get us caught up here, and we're caught up. Okay, so this will be interesting to see how Lisk will come out of this. 5 drones to 28 SCVs. Now we look up at the resource count for Lisk, and drones are up there. How did that happen? I'm not going to rewind to check that. I'm guessing it was just a misclick or something. Interesting. So we got a rogue overlord scouting, but not going to really worry about that too much. It was an overlord scout that was sent in, and Vengeance was keeping Lisk too occupied to notice it. He probably assumes it's already dead. Just make sure you're watching your mini-map. This is an overlord that could be saved, and I'm sure once Vengeance... once Vengeance... Come on, Vengeance! Come on, Vengeance! You can do it! Come on, use your Marines! Come on. Okay, I shouldn't talk to the Terran player like he's a dog, like he's a puppy dog. I don't like Terran players lately. I apologize to all the Terran players out there, but I don't like you guys right now. Okay? I'm not going to get into why, because it's going to sound like a QQ fest, but... anyways, this Overlord... Okay, good. It is pulling out, and Vengeance gave him all the time in the world for that, so that works. So we're up to 18 versus 29 Harvesters, and this is really the critical thing we are watching for. If Vengeance is doing what is typical for this, he is making a siege tank transition to counter the roaches that he just forced. And so Lisk has a very, very limited window of opportunity to re-drone and try to catch himself up a bit, particularly since we have no natural yet. Oh, and what do we have? Okay, just more Hellion Harass. Well, this actually is ill-fated. If Lisk micros... Wow, okay. So there's what I was talking about, but they're blue flame, they're not red flame. If they were a red flame, that would have been relatively successful. But since they're blue flame, they just kind of melt. Okay, good blocking, good blocking. Now what Lisk could have done here is just selected all of these drones immediately when he saw the Hellions up here. That's more than early enough. Right-click these minerals, and they will actually walk through the Queen and Roach up to the minerals, and he wouldn't have lost a single drone there. The Hellions would have been forced to turn around, or in this case probably die. Since our Terran player is not giving the best Hellion micro I've seen in a while. Anywho, oh man, I gotta stop ripping on the sky, I feel bad. I just have so much hate for the Terran players. Last game I played, I actually played one ladder game after the live cast, and the guy just bunker rushed me, just bunker rush, bunker rush, bunker rush, and I was hatch first, so fortunately I did actually beat it, because hatch first is better than 11 over pool 18 hatchery for the bunker rush. And after the bunker rush, he had no idea what to do. It really bums me out that Terran players are in that situation. I understand you're playing an easy race, but it's frustrating to see players who don't know how to play beyond the cheesy gimmick that wins 90% of their games. Oh well, I will stop that, because that is a bad mentality to get into. It's one of those poisonous mental states that can ruin all your games. Anyways, I am way off topic. I am sorry, I am not talking about this game at all. Alright, so we don't have too much going on here. We do see that Vengeance is taking his natural, and despite the many drones lost, Lisk has been given a great opportunity to re-drone. He's actually now matching Vengeance, right? Yes, Vengeance, for drones. But keep in mind, we got mules to factor in, so the mineral income is outrageous for Vengeance, despite being deficient 8 harvesters. So, you know, as a Zerg player, you do need to be at least 10 drones up, optimally closer to 15 to 20, if you want to keep a necessary economic advantage. And at this point, these rocks could be breaking down. Whenever you've got units just sitting around, just break those rocks. Those rocks aren't really going to be used by your opponent too often. Once in a while, maybe some Hellions will slip through, but it's super, super rare. So you should be breaking these rocks, prepping your third. And given that Vengeance is, in fact... Ooh, hello. Vengeance is going Banshees. But what I was saying was, given the fact that Vengeance has, in fact, taken his natural, Lisk needs to be staying +1 base. And so... this should have been an immediate reaction to start breaking these rocks and put up a hatchery. And in fact, we're floating 900 minerals now. So this is definitely a possibility. It's not even like it was going to be minerals he needed elsewhere. So I'm waiting to see. I'm hoping Lisk is going to read my mind and take his third, because if he doesn't, this could be a telltale sign of what he needs to improve on. The biggest thing he needs to improve on would be his third time. And we are at 16 minutes. Granted, that is 16 minutes with a lot of aggression from a Terran player, so we got to give Lisk some credit there. Nevertheless, at 16 minutes, it's not uncommon for the top Zerg players to have their fourth, let alone their third. So, here we go. These Banshees were scouted, and is this a spore? This is a spore. Excellent, and there's a spore. And so this is looking pretty good. Now, there could have been an Overseer involved in this, because we are layer tech. And Queens alone against 4 Banshees can be rough. So I would have liked to have seen, rather than just the spores, a Hydrodin going up. Or, I mean, the Spire, sure. I guess he's wanting to wait for the Spire. I can understand that logic. The Spire is going to hard counter these Banshees. So, okay, I can understand that logic. So what Lisk needed to do to buy some time is with this whopping 2,300 minerals he's got, he could have been spamming out some Queens. And instead of having only a couple Queens fighting these Banshees, he needed to have 6 to 8 Queens fighting these Banshees. And that's going to treat him just fine. It's not going to use up anything that he needed for the Mutalisks, since he's got enough minerals sitting around for it. And just watching here. Okay, good micro from the Queen. Could have pulled back a little bit further, kited him through the Spore Crawlers, but that's okay. And the Mutas are out, and this is going to be taken care of. But if you're trying to buy time for something like Mutalisk, don't be afraid to rely on Queens. You don't have to feel like you have this minute-and-a-half window where you have to defend 4 Banshees against, you know, a Spore and 2 Queens. Because that's just not going to end well. Okay, good. We are now breaking down these rocks. Again, I would have liked to have seen this about 4 or 5 minutes earlier, even with all this pressure, but nevertheless, that's fine. And while you're breaking down these rocks for the third, don't be afraid to go ahead and drop your hatchery. He's got the minerals for it. The drone will make the long walk over and drop the hatchery. And it'll actually be a bit quicker than if you wait for the rocks to break. So, don't be afraid to do that. Good, we are taking this. See all the little blips of him clicking over there. Okay, so we got Mutas out, and we know that it was a Banshee transition, but these Mutas are idle. Now, let's cheat. There is one turret. Ooh, that is a lot of mass mining. That is some efficiency. One turret, 2 turrets. Not a lot of turrets up, and if these Mutas had been moving out immediately after they killed the Banshees, there may have been even less turrets. So there definitely is some room for some harass. So Lisk, make sure that if you're going to go Mutas, you make sure to use them. Mutas are a highly mobile unit, very squishy, very low, whatever. Same word as squishy. It's not even. It's a redundant statement. But they're highly mobile, and they actually do reasonable DPS. So there's no reason to not have them always moving. And good, now you're doing that. But keep in mind, time is a factor with this sort of thing. Now he's prepared. 2 minutes ago, he was not prepared. And so, okay, one other critique I can make is when you get to a turret, just turn around immediately. You could have left with 5 Mutas instead of 3. You didn't really do any damage. So make sure that you are evaluating the situation correctly. And generally, if you have 5 Mutas and they have 1 turret, that's time to turn around or go someplace else in their base. A good rule of thumb that I've been kind of starting to give people if they're unsure about whether they can kill a turret. If you have 6 Mutas per 1 turret that you'll be engaging, and they have no SCVs nearby, that's not bad. If they do have SCVs nearby, then you need about 8 Mutas to 1 turret. So when you see a clump of 3 turrets around a base, go ahead and try to have, if there's SCVs there, 24 Mutas. Because at 400 total resources, you can lose 1 Muta per 1 turret and be losing 300 resources per exchange. So you need to make sure you kill very cleanly, or make sure you're going to kill a lot of SCVs after the fact, which is not a guarantee. Okay, good. We do have an Overseer now, so this is excellent to see. And make sure that you set the Overseer on follow the second that there's vision. And so this second Overseer, okay, not too necessary, but can help. But make sure you have the Overseer on follow the second that there's vision established. That way there isn't a chance of them getting away, because really those Banshees did not need to get away. Actually, I think... No, I think since he does not have Pneumatized Carapace upgraded, the Overseer will technically be outrun by the Banshee, but it's just very slightly slower. Alright, good. Zergling up at the 3rd, and that's going to slow things down quite a bit. And even going to lose some SCVs. Excellent, excellent. And this takes no management on the Zerg player's part. So make sure you're keeping Zerglings or Overlords at critical places throughout the map. Anything that they're going to want to expand to. Overlords spewing out creep, and wow, this Zergling might be left unchecked. The rocks aren't even being broken. This is pretty cool. This is a lot of free kills. Overlord spew and creep will delay their expanding, or vice versa, particularly in the lower ranked games. One Zergling just sitting there. I mean, that was 2 SCVs and a turret, and no management whatsoever. Actually, he could take another turret if he wants to. So, wow, this is actually a pretty long game. I'm still not too terribly used to casting these longer ones. I start to get a little worn out, but I'll try and keep it interesting for you guys. And this, wow, this is actually a pretty mean push. When you look at the composition, this is pretty cool on Vengeance part. I gotta give him a lot of credit. I like this. Okay. Just very banally vulnerable, but with micro, that would have been an incredible push. Okay, I want to go back. This is something that Terran players can really look at. Okay. We're gonna go to everything vision. So, why is this a cool push? Because look at what we've got countered. Banshees technically do reasonably well versus Banelings, but the targeting was a bit off. And technically, he should have microed away. Maybe one siege tank would have helped this a lot too, 1 or 2. But why do I like this? Well, he's shown a lot of mutas. And so we've got Marines and Vikings to counter the mutas. Now, Marines alone don't necessarily counter mutas. Mutas won't stop a push, but Marines have a hard time keeping up with the mutas. So then we have the Vikings with their whopping 9 anti-air range to keep the mutas way, way out of their attack range. I believe mutas are 4, or are they 3? I think they're 3, actually. Let's double check. 3. So that's triple the mutas range. Now, do Vikings counter mutas? No, they do not. So don't get that misconception. But Vikings plus Marines, hard counter mutas, because the mutas cannot come in, can't close the distance to kill the Vikings, because the Marines will shoot them down. Vice versa, the mutas have significantly less options for mobility because they've got a 9-range unit sniping them whenever they get anywhere near a critical target. Now, how does this make a cool push? Well, we've got the Hellions, which are going to deal very nicely with the Lings. And we've got the Banshees, which there could be a couple more of, and like I said, I'd like to have seen a siege tank as well, which are going to do very, very well against Roaches. And then Banelings can be generally handled with micro, particularly in the case of the Hellions. You can micro them away, you can stem and split the Marines, and the Banshees will clean up the Banelings. So this is a really, really cool composition on Vengeance part. But the micro wasn't quite there, and so that's a case of, you know, you can make a very, very interesting, very, very dynamic composition, but if you don't manage it correctly, particularly against Banelings, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So yeah, that right there was where he could have completely changed this. And some of this was just he was a bit out macroed, honestly. At this point, Lisk has macroed very, very well, particularly what he's been recovering from. And wow, we have some rallied Marines. And this is doing some damage because these Roaches are not being managed. Is he using... I don't think Lisk is using his control groups. That's the only explanation I can have for this. He does have his Roaches control grouped, but I don't think he was using them. Those mutas should have been completely uninvolved with the Marines. The Roaches should have been up front engaging the Marines, and then the mutas and Overseer can then clean up the Banshees. And really, after the initial confrontation where the Banelings were completely left unchecked with no micro, there was no reason not to just completely clean that up. So, nevertheless, Lisk is ending this quite a bit ahead. That's a lot of mutas, too. He could very... Okay, good. Yep. Reading my mind. Very easily take the gold. Oh, I'm still on every chat. Okay, there we go. very easily take the gold, and now he is doing that. And we still have no third from Vengeance. So it looks like Vengeance is fairly content to 2-base all in. We'll probably see one more push. I am guessing that... Oh, here comes the tanks. Okay. So what do we have from Lisk? Well, we've got 10 mutas, and the mutas are not control group. That might actually say something about what happened with the muta micro earlier. Okay, now they are. Never mind. Okay, and we've got that high ground offensive going on that can be so tough to deal with. And he did see those siege tanks move out. So this is the point you want to pull these drones. You know, it doesn't even matter. Put them back on here. Yeah, they won't be getting much done. But okay, here we go. We got the fight. Good. Now you're pulling the drones. But a little earlier would have saved half of those drones. But here's the part that... This is what's costing Lisk the game. He's done this several times now. Once, 3 times technically. Once up in the main, once at his natural, and once on this ledge. Okay. Too far back. Okay.
The hive cluster is under attack.
Watch how little damage these mutas do compared to what they were capable of. There was actually a move command executed, and I'm actually going to pause this for a second. He executed a move command, which you first never want to do with Mutalisk, and he moved just right into the marine fire. Now, there really wasn't much justification for this. He's taking the gold. Actually, he should be putting up a hatchery right now while all this is going on. He can pull the drones back, and he can lose this third. It's fine. He's taking the gold, lose the third, and let your Terran opponent stay on 2-base to your 2-base and a gold. That's fine. Now, what happened here is Lisk panicked again and just kind of let his mutas fly, and he was distracted somewhere else, perhaps. And instead of microing the mutas in conjunction with the banelings and roaches, he's now pretty much just sacrificing the bulk of his army. I mean, mutas are very expensive, especially since he had, what, a 13 or so? So that was the bulk of his army, and it's losing with minimal damage to the opponent, maybe 3 or 4 Marines tops. So let's go ahead and watch the rest of this here. And what I would have liked to have seen is just let this fall if necessary. With 4 tanks sieged up on this ledge, it's going to be tough to break. It's a huge wraparound you've got to pull. But just fall back to a defensive position back here or something like that. You know, they're going to pull some tank play here, but nevertheless, fall back to a defensive position and just go ahead and wait for them to make a misstep. Wait for them to unsiege at the wrong time, and then move in with all of this in conjunction. So he does have 4 or 5 mutas remaining after those losses, and now we're going to base trade. But the thing about base trading with Terran is they have one little mechanic that says, I by default win base trades, and that is liftoff. We only have 2 Mutalisks left, and actually that one's dying to a turret. 2 Mutalisks left, and okay, a few more spawn. But nevertheless, liftoff is going to give a huge advantage, because if Vengeance wants, he can go ahead and just lift all his buildings and say, haha, none of your ground-based units are doing any damage to my buildings, and therefore I will win the base race. Because all of a sudden, all the damage is put on the mutas. So let's go ahead and see how this pans out. But more than likely, he's going to get stuck at this wall. Okay, this is interesting. So he's committed to a base race, and now he's turning around. And this is sort of indecisive. Okay, there is enough units here to defend this. But he definitely, in my opinion, should have just stayed back and stopped the push, kept the opponent at 2 bases, and been happy with that. And these roaches are... Actually, these roaches also don't have speed, so keep that in mind. Glio reconstitution is super, super critical for your roaches. Make sure you get it every game. And I need to stop saying words twice. Okay, I'm sorry, I was missing that because I was watching the Glio reconstitution. Alright. There we go. This is going to be Lisk's final stand. Alright. Looking good so far, and actually caught those off guard pretty well. And there's no anti-air left, so these mutas should be able to clean up pretty well here. I would have liked to have seen these roaches down here, just to help a little, but all in all, that was a pretty good cleanup. So let's see how this ends up a loss for... I'm actually a bit baffled. How does this end up a loss for Vengeance at this point? Because his opponent is on 1 base, he's taking his 2nd base, and particularly if these Hellions don't get their act together and kill these drones, Vengeance is going to be in trouble. A lot of trouble. So we've got 9 mutas. That's odd that I select 9 mutas, but there's only 8 in the control. Okay, there we go. It was probably a rally. 11 mutas. I am not seeing how this is a loss. Zerglings should be... Okay, here we go. One final push. Oh, that's actually a pretty big push. Okay, so Vengeance was floating quite a bit. And that's where this turns into a loss, as he was floating like a boss, and he decided to go ahead and spend those resources. It looks like Lisk is going to GG out with no contest. Could Lisk have saved this game? Well, at this stage, I should say. Probably not. But again, down here is where it really turned sour. He could have taken the gold, kept the push at this natural, and this natural wasn't critical. He could have actually lost this natural as well, with where it's almost entirely mined out. Transferred the drones to his gold, which should have now completed if he started it when this ledge play started up. And then he would have been in pretty good shape, because now all of a sudden these siege tanks, which are all tricky down here in the choke, are going to have done siege. They have no choice. Either they're going to pull out from the back, or they're going to wrap around and try and get to the main or the gold. One way or another, they're moving on to creep, and you have an amazing opportunity to go ahead and flank them with the mutas while the banelings take care of the marines. So optimally, that would have been a really good outcome. I mean, with the 12 roaches in particular to soak up some tank fire and allow the banelings to get through, it should have just been crushed. But instead, we have this: do I want to base race or do I not want to base race situation? You took the natural and then you retreated, and then you moved the roaches up front, and then they ended up dying, and then so make sure that you're committing to, if you're going to base trade, make sure you commit. I don't recommend base trading too often against Terran. In this case, you did have a lot of mutas though, so you maybe could have pulled it off. But just make sure you commit. And in this case, like I said, I don't think the base race was the right choice. So anyways, thanks for sending in the great game list. I know I had a lot of critique. I hope I wasn't too hard on you, but I just noticed a lot of things here that could have been improved. So I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just saying that it was another of those games where there was compounding mistakes. But still, I feel you had the game won until this happened. So make sure you just have the right decision making at the end stages of a game, and I think you'll be in great shape. All right, thanks a lot. Have a good one.